Right guys, so following on from the steering video previously, this is the old box from the 300 TE. I'm going to basically do a seals rebuild. It was suggested to me that when you adjust, where is she? This screw here on the boxes, it doesn't really make much of a difference, or at least it shouldn't, because these boxes don't tend to wear on those. I believe it's a spring with ball bearings on it. Anyway, it doesn't seem to wear on them, so I am going to start a reseal on this. It might not get done all today. We'll see what kind of pace we're going at, and I'll check in with you as we go. Alright guys, so the first step for me was removing that damper because it was stuck on. I ended up having to cut through the bolt and knock it off. The next step then was removing the 4 bolts coming into the pitman. Now I'm following a guide that somebody sent me that's online in a photo format. I find videos easier maybe to follow, but it's a step-by-step instruction, so it's a good guide. If I remember to, I will put the link to that in the instructions. You could, or in the description. You can actually maybe download it or print it off. Print it off would probably be handiest. But anyway, remove those 4 bolts. Hold this steady and remove that nut. This is the nut that I was talking about tightening to bring out some of the slack. And then as you move that clockwise, you'll see, trying to do this one hand, you'll see that that moves out. So if I pop that in there, see if I can do this one-handed. I can't. As I turn this clockwise, I'm actually pushing that as far as it can go. Now I'd say that that's me at its maximum there. I'm going to have to then maybe pry this out. I'm going to check the next part of the instructions. Alright, so you don't pry against it anyway. From what I could find is it looks like in the photographs he just screwed the whole way through, so I continued on, but mine was very tight. Now this box was changed out because I changed over this pump. This was the pump that was on it. I changed that to not a new one, but a used one, and the issue was still the same. The belt, it wasn't turning, the belt was squealing. So then I changed this out, and that solved the problem. So I was loosening, as you've seen in the previous section there, I was loosening this, and it came to a stop for me. I powered through. I ended up, cause it's only an Allen key, I ended up wringing it out, but I said I'd keep going. Used a Torx head and an impact, and I finally got it out. And I think we might have some more stuff to find, because if you can see there's a little shard of metal with no real indication of where that came from. No evidence on that. And then turn this round, we have another piece of metal just there after falling out. So I'm going to continue on stripping this one apart. I actually have another diesel box on another car here, so I can strip this apart. We get a good feel for what they're like and everything like that, and then I'll do the same to the diesel box, and we'll reassemble it rather than trying to salvage this, depending on what's broken. You know, it could be a piece that swaps out easily enough. I don't know. I don't know if there's any ratio difference between a 300 TE petrol and a diesel, or if they're a tighter box or anything. I'd like to know that, really. But anyway, there's noticeable differences. I think I mentioned in the previous video on the box that I have installed, which is the diesel box, but I think that's just slop in the system. Anyway, I will do the next section and I'll get back to you. Okay, so the next section to come out is this from underneath, where you took out the pitman arm, or yeah, it's not the pitman arm, but it's the driving mechanism for it. So we have, what comes out of it is, that's your cap. Spring is inset into that. We have a collar and a valve. that sits inside there like that. And then you have this little copper washer that sits here just to seal it up. So that sits like that. And that all goes into there. So the next piece that they say, or he says, is turn this fully clockwise, which I have done, and remove these. Now on his, it's a square flange. I presume it's the same procedure. So I'm just going to throw them to the side, and then he says remove the guts. I've given that a little tap. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. As we know, this box is probably toast anyway, so I don't need to worry too much about being overly cautious. There's a bit of weight in that. Okay, we just have a little look-see for any of that metal we found inside the box. I believe this is the area where we have the bearings, or the roller ball bearings in it, and it can be a pig to mess with, so apparently you just avoid doing that. Let me see, is this another piece? There's nothing really obvious there now, so I can only assume that either the housing is going to show us the damage, or it's on the, see this this worm gear here. That screw could have lost pieces, or yeah, that's all I can really think of for the time being. Okay, I'm going to place that off to the side and go to the next section. So in the interest of research here, this is totally different to the guide PDF that's in the link in the description, and he says very blatantly don't pull this rack out from the housing, but we know that this is a scrap box at this stage, so I'm going to pull this out. I did make an attempt at opening up this bearing piece here, which is, as I say, a different box to what he has there, and it didn't go well. I tried moving this around, tried applying pressure to the overall piece in the bench press, and no good. So I said, look, I'm not getting any further with that. I may as well pull this out from here and just have a look. So what he was talking about you don't want to find is this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's just empty the rest of them before I go any further. So that's 5 ball bearings, and like you'd expect, one went flying off here, and there's more in there. And I believe I have seen in other videos, and they are all sitting inside of this boil here. So what you have to do is you have to take this out and then load it up, I believe. Yeah, so that's that. Inside of here we have a bearing, couple of bearings. I have the spout I can see. Don't know if you can see much. Let's see if I can turn the camera on, or the torch on. Right, so with the torch on, you can see these 2 protruding pieces here. This one here and one further back is our spout. And we have a little bearing just there. And that's pretty much all that's happening inside of there, I believe. So that's that part there. And now this here, there is some way that that is sealed. And I think it's a, you know, those wrenches, crescent wrenches, and enough force will turn that. but I've not succeeded. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to try again. I believe that's how it's going to have to happen, because I don't think it pushes clean, because I put a lot of pressure into it and it didn't budge. Anyway guys, that's a kind of a wrap on what I can show you about this box. There is this piece here, maybe I'll open that up. I know that can be a bit of a pain when you open that up too. Maybe we'll do it because the box is a scrap anyway. Alrighty, so the piece that I was saying that was sitting here is just a little valve cover or a little cap, and then you have your actual internal valve comes out, and it has a couple of springs inside it. That's obviously your return and your feed springs or valves. So that's not a major thing. The circlip is sacrificial, so we're going to have to get a new one if we ever decided to put something like this back together. I had a look then, because I still can't find where that metal bits came from, and I had a look here at the Pitman shaft, and nothing really standing out, but there is a slight score mark here, and you can see it's an old, like it's aged into it, and you can actually feel that ridge the whole way along there. And let's see, we have rust and that showing as well on the Pitman arm. So if I was to place this in its location, we're looking at its location there. No real sign of sorry, I'll show you, sorry, make that big bigger. So that's its location there. No real sign of a matching mark here that correlates with that, but maybe that was letting in moisture as well is an aspect, but because you can see rust there. That's weird. I don't know if it was rebuilt before and that's what caused that. That's the only evidence I could find for where those chunks of metal came from. They're not bearing material before anybody asks. So I don't know what to do here. You have a couple of seals. We have one on the inside there, one on the outside here, this front one, and then we've got the bearing itself. There's no Teflon seals or anything like the box in the links, unless, as I say, they're inside here and there's a way of me opening up that and getting those put in. I would say this is a newer, this is an 89 car came off. I'd say it's a newer box design than the one that's in the video. So we'll just see. I might have to just go with the other one and rebuild the other box that I have before putting it into the car, or maybe I'll be able to open this up and make it work. There is also the aspect which is that this is rung back here and I have to knock in a Torx head, but I could also wind that back out with the Torx head, so that's not the end of the world either. It was a good fit. Anyway guys, that's all I can report at the moment. I will check in on the rebuild of maybe the other box or this box. Alrighty guys, so I finally got this loose. It had a couple of marks on it already, again going with the idea that possibly it had been taken apart already and repaired in some way. Anyway, I had tried a few times, I've added a good few marks myself, and I realised, or I just got lucky in so much as I was using the wrong thing. So I was using big flathead that I use for bodger and things like that, but in actuality I should have just used a proper cold chisel, because as soon as I hit it with a cold chisel she came loose straight away, and that meant then I was also in between trying to get this to come loose, not knowing necessarily the entire setup, but actually that ring just locks it. There goes my Alexa. It basically just means that locks together, and you screw this out and we have a very scary little bearing there. And I believe this comes, oh yeah, there we go. So we have that. These there, we have two little tiny wafer roller bearings. So I don't know if you can see that. They're very the smallest bearings I've ever come across. So I don't know if my kit had bearings like that. I think I would have noticed something like that. So I'll have to look at them for visible signs of wear on them. And then we have a spacer disc, or washer, spacer I would call it. And then we have, I think that's just the front seal. Front seal there. Now we do have a little valve or port here. You can see it just there. And the port there, I would say that's just to get some of that power steering fluid in there to keep this all lubricated. Now this wasn't actually leaking, but I'm going to pull that seal now that I have it open anyway. Or at least on the new box that I might use. That'll be the case. I had a look at the box on the card that I had here. It's the same kind of design, so I'm going to have to do this on any of them anyway. So I've got a seal there. I don't have any even, there's a bearing inside that lock ring or that piece. And is there, it looks like we've got more going on inside there, doesn't it? Yeah, so we'll have that, take that apart now in a second, and we'll have a look to see what's in here. In actuality, we don't need to pull that bearing, but I have found what is the nylon seal on this revised or this different design. So that's our nylon seal there. So that's alright, we can reseal this box fairly handily, which I might well do rather than opening up another one. I can see on this piece here we have a circlip. Sorry, this piece here we have a circlip holding a seal in there as well. You know, just a flange seal. I don't think there's any nylon piece in there. Anyway, I'll get on swapping out these seals, or at least laying out the ones I think I need, and report back. Okay, so this, the final part of this assembly, and what we can kind of conclude from it is, first of all, I pulled this piece out, which is, sorry, this piece here. I pulled this piece out, which is the adjustment screw, let's say, for your pinion gear. And essentially all that's in it is you have this little concave washer that fits down in there. This piece, as you can see, rubs on that, goes in like so. We throw on the big circlip, followed by the small circlip, or followed by another spacer washer. Basically these washers are acting like little bearings, and then we have a small circlip then to tie it all off. That just means it'll move freely within that housing, and those act as bearings. You can knock out your seals on this here, just working from the back forward. This seal here knocks out too, comes out from the front out, so the opposite way to this. This here, so you know, on that how-to it says you don't take this out of there, and that would have been nice, except if you do that you won't be able to change out the Teflon seal on this here, because that sits into this housing and that shaft goes through there, so you would never be able to swap that out. You have to take this apart and take out all of those ball bearings. But it's easy. These tabs here bend back, you can pull that out, you pop this through. I say it's easy, I haven't put it back yet, but we'll find out. You pop back in your reassembled, resealed shaft, and I believe at that stage you just feed in your ball bearings until they start coming back around. Clamp this back on over and bolt it back up. So I'm going to reseal this here, or sorry, I don't know if I'm going to reseal it because that is sort of irreparable damage right there. And I don't know if this is a part I can just order to save me taking apart the other box that I have here currently. Yeah, aside from that, it seems okay. Yeah guys, what I've learned from it is I now know the internal workings of the box, so I should be able to put, even if it goes to resealing the other one, it should be a lot easier now, knowing what I'm looking for and everything like that. But equally, I think I might just reseal these pieces and see if I can locate one of these. Anyway guys, that's a little disassembly of a steering box for you. Thanks for watching.